All right. Can everybody hear me? Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Just making sure everything's good to go. I think it's like a couple seconds behind, so I'll understand. Okay, you can hear me? Cool. Awesome. All right. Let's get this off the screen. What's up, everybody? Oh, I just realized what I'm forgetting. What people see on screen is not the total story. All right, that's on. I forgot to turn all the lights on, so my bad. But yeah, that was a race. That was a race for sure. So let's look right now, real quick. I want to thank John for the $2 super chat there. My local guy is the champion. Let's go. Good stuff there. I see. Okay, I saw one person say no audio. But if can't hear me, oh wait, it's the same person saying they can't hear me. So whatever. All right. As long as we're good to go, I guess we can get right on into it because I'll be completely honest, the only thing we really have to go over is the last 15 laps. Uh, that was fun to watch. That was definitely a lot of fun to watch the last 15 or so laps. Are you serious? Like what Wikipedia's already updated? 670. Let me know what one is. Yeah, there's audio. Okay. Yeah, let me know which Wikipedia is updated. Is it like just a truck series in general or Zane Smith? Thank you, 670 package. When my favorite truck driver finally did it. Let's go. And I believe that the chat pick for the podcast was Zane Smith as well. So good call on you guys there. My voice is a little out because I'll just let you guys in on something right now. In the other room is my living room. And me and IDK player had this challenge where we would do 20 push-ups every caution or every commercial break. And we ended up doing 80 per stage. So 240 push-ups later, and I'm a little bit, just a little bit sore, and my voice is a little sore. All right. It's saying as long as everything's good, let's go right on into what we got here. We'll go through the finishing order first. It took me all year to find out that the NASCAR website has all the laps and everything good to go and ready. So I can start. Oh, yeah, like I said, Napa Racing Fan 927. Rest in peace, Camping World Truck Series 09 to 2022. Correct. Zane Smith's Wikipedia has been updated. Let me see. I want to see this. Because if so, that is quick as hell. Zane Smith. Wikipedia. Full-time, blah, 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 blah. Yep, there it is. Zane Smith's Wikipedia says officially updated as the 2022 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series champion. So, wow. And regular season champion, too. And I'm now just realizing that I'm 2 years older than a NASCAR champion, and that's kind of weird for me. Not gonna lie, that's really weird for me. But is what it is. Thank you everybody for coming in here. Let's get right on into what the finishing order was for this race. You had, of course, Zane Smith winning it over two of the final four contenders. Thank you, Dave, for saying that I have a narrator voice. And thank you, Cavante Caldwell, for the $5 super chat. Zane Smith is going to be around for a while. Future Cup champ. Maybe we'll see. And how do you feel about the Jimmy Johnson news? I'll get to Johnson news in a second. I'm going to say this about Zane Smith. I think that Zane Smith is the future of front row for like the long term. McDowell right now, and even maybe Gilliland to a degree, are laying the foundation of the Cup program. But I think that when that program is ready, Zane Smith will be a perfect person to put into the 34 car when McDowell heads out. And that car already is a top 15 car. And I think Zane Smith, I think he should get some more experience in Xfinity personally, but I think that if they were to move into Cup in the next 3 years, that'd be a perfect move too. By the way, be sure to lick that like button. First stream of 3 this weekend that we're going to do following each race. We'll get after the Xfinity Series race tomorrow, as well as the Cup race on Sunday. Going to be a lot of fun, so you got to be sure to be there for all of that. it's going to be great. But the margin of victory, the official margin of victory that NASCAR has at the moment over Ben Rhodes was 0.236 seconds. Chandler Smith then was in third. Fourth was John Hunter Nemechek. Stuart Friesen finishing out the top 5. We'll get to the super chat in a moment. 670. Grant Enfinger finishing 6th. 7th was Corey Heim. 8th, Tanner Gray. Caden Honeycutt with a 9th place finish, and I just love that name. That's a great racing name. And finishing out the top 10 is Carson Hocevar, relatively quietly for how his season went. I wonder if the Door Bumper Clear crew is still going to go after him after he had a quiet finish this season. 670, thank you for the 2. Zane Smith is a future of Ford right now. Don't at me. I could see it too. I mean, the guy has tons of talent on hand, and I do not blame anyone for looking that way at him. All right, let's get into these other finishers here. We're going to go through the whole field. 11th was Derek Kraus. 12th was Matt Crafton. Lane Riggs with a 13th. 14th, Tyler Ankrum. Colby Howard finishing 15th. Jake Garcia, 16th. Taylor Gray, 17th. Lawless Allen, another great name, and 18th. 19th, Chase Purdy. And Ty Majeski, my pick for the championship, finishes 20th after spinning out. Can't say he didn't give his all in this race. He would be the second to last car on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap was Dean Thompson in the 40 Chevrolet. Then after that, you have Matt Benedetto finishing 22nd a lap down. Tyler Hill -2 in 23rd. 24th, Austin Wayne Self -2. -2 again for Blaine Perkins in 25th and Chris Hacker in 26th, as well as Timmy Hill in 27th. 28th, Johnny Sauter. And then these next two are 3 laps down. Jack Wood in 29th. Another great name. And then finishing the top 30, Christian Eckes. The rest of these guys and gals are all ones that were out of the race come, the end of the day. Haley Deegan was out, as was Raja Caruth in 32nd. 33rd, Spencer Boyd. Keith McGee in 34th, also out. And Armani Williams with a last place finish in this race. And we really don't have too many main moments to talk about in the opening 135 laps, to be completely honest with you. In the opening stage, you had that opening wreck with Keith McGee and Armani Williams, which is what got your last 2 finishers. Other than that, Zane Smith got the win in stage 1. Eckes, he had his wheel jam after the pits, but really a nonchalant stage 2 as well. And again, Zane Smith winning. And I believe they said that the last time that he won both stages, he won the race 2. That was at Coda. So, I mean, he had the best car all night. Like, it was far and away best car of the night for Zane Smith. And that was not a perfect race that team put on either. That team had a lot of mistakes throughout the night. I saw at one point they had a couple of slow pit stops. They had times where they had times where they just were losing spots, where they were, just struggling altogether. But Zane bailed them out. I think that long term, if their truck program is to keep doing as well as they are right now, they need, and I, all caps need to make sure that either the guys they have on hand on the pit crew are better, or that they get some better guys on there. But then you got the final stage. On lap 99, you had the Christian Eckes wreck. I was surprised nobody else was caught up in that because it was right in the middle of the pack. But great driving on all those guys involved there. Then you have, Raja crashing with 45 to go. And Taylor Gray was a little bit involved with that, but he was able to continue on and get a 17th place run in that 17 truck. So that's not too awful bad. And then with 16 to go, you had your at this point, your scheduled Haley Deegan caution. Deegan, it wasn't really her fault, though. I'm not going to blame her. And you don't know yet. That's something I'll say. Going into the offseason, we don't know what Haley Deegan's going to do because that team is going from Ford to Toyota, but she signed on as a Ford driver. If it were up to me, I don't think the Truck Series at the moment is giving her what she needs. She showed some promise in her opening Xfinity start, so I would think maybe a part-time Xfinity deal for a year would be good. And if he's able to do better, or if she's able to do better as the season goes on, then maybe look at having a full-time season in the Xfinity Series in 2024. But it's going to be really interesting because the Hailie Deegan hype train was insane about, I'd say, give or take 2.5 years ago. And at this point now, there's nothing. I mean, there's no hype whatsoever anymore. Yeah, that there was a nice run in the Xfinity race where she finished like 13th or 14th, but I don't think in any way that's setting the world on fire like many had hoped. I think that a lot of people had hoped she'd kind of be like Ty Gibbs in performance. But I don't know. It's rough to look at, honestly. But that caution is what sparked the big strategy pull that really made this race finish what it was. And in my opinion, the opening 135 laps were not memorable at all. But we had a good short run with different tires, with different tire wear, with different strategies. And I thought that personally that made it a lot better because there was that difference between different trucks, the good ones, the bad ones, so on and so forth. And at this point, you had 5 guys, it looked like, on 2 tires for their strategy. And one of them was Ben Rhodes. Ben Rhodes was far and away the slowest driver of those final 4. There was no way he was going to win with 4 tires. He'd just get stuck in the pack. The way that Zane and Chandler Smith nearly got stuck in the pack earlier on the ensuing restart before the finish. And with that restart, you had Chandler Smith in 6th. You had Ty Majeski in 7th. And you had Zane Smith in 9th. And I would say it was surprising to see that it was Majeski at first who got that big run off. It was Majeski who was able to basically, he had his shot at the win. He had his shot at the championship and wasn't able to capitalize on it. And because of that, the other 2 managed to catch up. Rhodes had the lead with 7 to go. And with 4 to go, trying too hard, Ty Majeski spins it, ending his championship hopes and leading us to a green-white checker, or as everyone seems to be calling it now, overtime. I'm still calling it green-white checker. I don't care. It sounds better in my opinion. And that's where you had those top 3 under a blanket. And before we get to that, thank you, 670 horsepower package win for the 5. Zane Smith is my favorite truck driver because he has the same name as Zane from Lego Ninjago, and that's cool. I think my brother watched that as a kid, so awesome. By the way, we only have 71 likes, 235 watching. Lick that like button. And if you're new here, we will be doing these all weekend and plenty of other stuff in the off season. We got a lot of good stuff coming up this weekend. So it's gonna be fun. Looking at what SheRank 244 says in the chat, I'm going to agree with you there. Fox has terrible coverage today. Way too many commercials. Like I said, me and IDK Player were doing 20 push-ups per commercial break, and there were a lot of commercial breaks. We ended up having 240 total, so that would be 12 commercial breaks in a 150-mile race. I mean, we basically had a commercial every 10 to 15 laps. And there were a lot of commercials like with 5 to 8 to go in a stage. And to me, that's just insane to see personally. But the broadcast, in my opinion, and how bad that Fox has been with the Truck Series, in my opinion, is why we're seeing it's why we're seeing Camping World leave right now. Like, it's cool that the Truck Series, Craftsman Truck Series is coming back, but Camping World leaving like that as such a big sponsor leaving, I don't know if it's NASCAR altogether or just the Truck Series. It's still not a good sign to see, and I don't blame, from what the rumors say, Marcus Lamona is blaming the bad coverage of Fox as why he would be leaving. Plus, he has SRX. I'll admit, like you're saying in the chat, though, having the ticker on the bottom is pretty good in my opinion. I like it because it's out of the way. You have the main focus of the race on the top. It's not intrusive in any way. Like, that's the thing I can't stand about having the ticker on the side personally, is in a lot of ways it's almost like cutting back the size of the screen you have. Like, when I started watching around 05, 04, that's how like all the broadcasts were, and everything was just too compacted. And once you had that wider screen, it made it better. So personally, I like having one on the bottom a lot better. Did anyone hear him swear live on TV, or was that just me? Yeah, I heard it. I heard a lot of different ones, but at this point, the way it is, I'll say this about the Truck Series. I don't know. Maybe they were the broadcasters were at the track. Maybe they weren't, but it did seem like they weren't. And they weren't for most of the season. They got to get the Truck Series broadcasters back at the racetrack. I don't care what you got to do. Having that disconnect in a lot of these races was not good this year. And like, I love the Truck Series. I think it's one of, if not one of the, best races every weekend, if not the best races in NASCAR of a weekend. And it just seems like the potential that it has is just, it's being diminished, and it shouldn't, because this is such a great series and has such a great history in such a small amount of time. So I'm hoping next year, blind hope probably, but I'm hoping next year we see Fox Sports change some stuff up. They need new announcers. Jamie Little didn't cut it for ARC. I wouldn't have her up there. The crew they have, other than Phil Parsons, Michael Waltrip has chilled out, so that's good. But they need to fix some stuff up, because I feel like it's not too many fixed. It's not like the Truck Series broadcast have at times, when they do put effort into it, have some of the best production, especially like kind of like the Xfinity broadcasts for Fox. I think were the best ones they had this year. If they model all their broadcasts off the Xfinity ones, I'll be really happy. Race Hub had a big improvement. So in general, I think going into next year, if there's not an improvement for Fox, fans need to be asking for somebody new in the first part of the season, in general, because the Truck Series and all this, but is not good. Like Mark is saying in the chat, Vince Welch is not cut out to be a broadcaster like this. So, JC, thank you for the $2 firebending. Yeah, I got a Avatar shirt. I'm big, as a lot of people call it, Avatared or whatever. Or whatever we want to call it, but I love Avatar. I see in there Napa Racing fan, Sheldon Creed, Noah Gregs. It's like, I don't know. I see Joshua saying maybe CBS. CBS I know has some obligations with golf and stuff, but I feel like if they had years if they had years of planning, having to do, with this, of signing a deal and then having 2 years to plan how your broadcast would go, I feel like CBS would be a better option. Personally, when it comes to their sports coverage, I think that they have some of the best sports coverage in the business, especially football. Their football coverage, in my opinion, is a lot better than the Fox ones are now. Better announcers, better production, better people. Papa John's. Thomas says, imagine Kurt and Larry Mack were in the main broadcasters plus a rotational person. I would think you would have to have one guy as like that main, the straight man in the comedy routine almost. Larry Mack needs to be back in the booth. Kurt Busch would be very good for the booth. And if Mike Joy ever does end up retiring, I think Adam Alexander is perfect for going into the Cup role. I think he's gotten so much better in the last couple of years. Like, if you look at how he was in 2014 in his last year at TNT and you compare it to now, it is amazing the transformation he's done. You can tell that he's put a lot of work into his craft, and it's shown. So I would love to see Adam Alexander take the role. If Alan Bestwick would be awesome. Rick Allen's good in trucks. I personally think Rick Allen in general is pretty good. I think he's overhated. But going back to the champion himself, I'm going to pull up some of these championship stats, look at the season that Zane Smith has had. I think, appreciating how well Zane has done would be appropriate in this moment. But it all started, I was at this race, all started with his win at Daytona. Qualified him into the playoffs, and he had 2 other wins. He had the one win at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, as well as at Kansas. The Kansas win was probably the most dominant win of the year he had, I would say. But when you look at his season, there are so many good races, and there's very sporadic bad ones, but not too awful, to be honest. You got the win and a 36, but then after that 36th place run at Las Vegas, due to being DQ'd, I might add, because he did run very fast in that one. He had a 5th at Atlanta, 1st at Austin, 9th at Martinsville, 10th at Bristol Dirt, 8th at Darlington, 1st at Kansas for issues at Texas. And then you had 5th at Charlotte, 9th at Gateway, 2nd at Sonoma, 3rd at Knoxville, 2nd at Nashville, 2nd at Mid-Ohio, 13th at Poconos, 3rd at IRP, 9th at Richmond, 4th at Kansas, 2nd at Bristol, a 17th at Talladega when everyone wrecked, 2nd at Homestead last week, and then you finish out the season with a dub, probably the best car out there. He is a very deserving champion. He is one of the most entertaining drivers in NASCAR to watch, in my opinion. This is fully, I don't care what we say in general. No matter if it was Winston Cup or playoffs, this is the most deserving guy this year, and it's good to see the most deserving guy win. And I will say this about Ben Rhodes, a big applause to him. It is good to see guys like him and Chandler Smith being clean and fair and showing that the lower series do have a bit of honor left in them when it comes to racing for the championship. A lot better than the Xfinity Series has shown in recent weeks. And it's something that you don't see that often. So I appreciate the fact that Ben Rhodes could have went in there and ass-packed him. Could have just sent him straight into the wall and went and got a win. Chandler Smith could have done it to both. They all could have crashed each other. Those guys could have done all of that to each other, but instead they raced cleanly. They might have gotten into each other at different points, but it was incidental contact. It was not intentional contact. And even at some intentional contact is okay as long as you're not junking a guy. So I'll say this. I was impressed by the racing they put on. I think all 3 of these drivers are ready to move on to the next level if they elect to do so, or like they already have elected in some cases to do so. I can't wait to see these guys in Xfinity and Cup because they raced with maturity. They raced with a lot of poise. They raced like drivers who should be in a higher series than the Truck Series. And for the season the Truck Series has had, being a meat grinder at certain points, it's refreshing to see that kind of racing. The accident that Ty Majeski had that took him out of the championship, it was him racing over the line. It didn't have anything to do with getting taken out. It was, in my opinion, it was just really good. It was really good. Personally, I think that. Spencer in the chat, Ty Gibbs has a target on his back tomorrow. That's going to be interesting. I did get asked earlier about the Jimmy news. I don't think that's going to have an immediate impact on Petty GMS, but I think that team, and I will make a video on this, that team is poised for some success in the future, and I am really excited to see the 43, which I think is the car that's going to do it the most for at least the beginning of it. I'm really excited to see the 43 be a competitive ride in NASCAR again. It'd be, honest to God, if they were a top 10 team next year, it'd be the first time since the 80s that the 43 was a legitimately competitive team at more than just a road course, a super speedway, or a once in a blue moon short track win. So I got to say, I'm excited for that. I think Jimmy Johnson's going to bring a lot to that team. And I'm excited to have Jimmy back as a part-time driver. It's going to be really interesting if, like, the cutoff line, because someone had said, well, Jimmy will get him a championship provisional. But it would be really interesting next year if we saw Jimmy Johnson versus, Elio Castroneves or Kurt Busch for the dual races. I think that would show that'd give fans a lot of reason to watch those races, because nowadays it's very much an afterthought in speed weeks, and I would love to see the duels come back to their former glory of having exciting battles to get into the 500 for cars that actually, even if they are running in the back, for cars that will actually make a difference in that race. I see that, AJ Custer in the chat. The wheel for Ross Chastain is still imperfect. That's almost as bad as that hammering you hear is the final coffin or whatever it was. That was bad. By the way, let's see if we can get over 100 likes before we end this baby off. I say we go maybe 5-10 more minutes on this. Again, it is a truck series, shorter race, not as many things going on until the end. So probably not as long a stream. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back on Sunday. Subscribe if you're new here. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend, championship weekend. Let's make this a new tradition. Let's make this a new tradition of all of us coming together after each race, having some fun with it. I am very much appreciative of how many of y'all came out this late for a truck post-race stream. So it's really awesome to see. So thank you very much for that. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Let's have some one or two really fun topics or little things we can end off on and send you guys off and having a good night. Let's do that. I see Napa Racing fans saying bring back the Eldora Derby. I'd be cool with that, but I think that the way that Tony Stewart thinks of NASCAR now and what he said, I don't see NASCAR being too keen on rekindling that negotiation. Let's just say that. Who wrecks more drivers, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or Ty Gibbs? This year, Ty Gibbs. Ethan Nelson, 2024, who won? Zane Smith won. Were trucks running 550? No, I don't think trucks run 550. I don't know what exactly they run, but I know it's a lot less. Daniel, shout out to Eric and the Out of the Groove sponsored car looking sexy in Xfinity practice. That was really awesome to see. And I'm honored just being part of the podcast and being able to have a small contingency sticker on there. Really, really cool deal for Eric. And I speak for all of us on the podcast and everybody who's been watching him for so long of how proud we are of how far he's made it. And he's almost at 200,000 subs. So good stuff there too. Chris, bring back Dave Despain. We, about 3 years ago, talked to Dave Despain, and right now he's just living out retirement and enjoying his life out, I believe, in the Georgia mountains. But Dave is a good guy. I actually, through 2020, every now and then, not like super often, but I did email him back and forth for a bit and got some advice, and it's been all extremely helpful. So if Mr. Despain, if you were for some reason watching this at, what time is it in Georgia? 12:39. It might be. Yeah, I think it's 12:39 in Georgia. If you're for some reason watching this, thank you. Let's see what else we got in here. Lane Riggs is underrated. I agree with that, Fall Boy XX. Lane Riggs is definitely an underrated driver. 13th tonight, ran up front, did pretty good. I am I can't wait to see what future he has. I hope he surpasses the way that his father's Cup career did. Because if you remember, though, that first year that Scott Riggs was really full-time with Evernham in 2006, when that 10 team shifted over to Evernham, he had some bad fast runs and was he should have won the Coke 600 that year. People forget that. And Scott, Lane Riggs, I hope has gotten some of that talent his father Scott did. I just hope it ends out better this time around. Alex, thank you for the 2. Not a great look for KBM new drivers. I saw Denny Delivers on Twitter, found the Battle of Midway wiki, and he crossed out the way and it just said Battle of Mid. But maybe, who knows? Maybe those guys, with KBM, especially being probably the lead Chevy or one of the lead Chevy teams there, maybe they'll run well. I don't want to judge them too early. We have about 100 days before we get back to truck racing, so I'll give them a chance, but right now not the greatest look compared to the lineup that we currently have with KBM. Cavante, thank you for the $4.99. Will you ever stream during a race? I actually did that last year for the Bristol night race. It was fun. I had my girlfriend on that one, and it was a really fun experience having her on for once. On here, but maybe not too often during a race because I do stream the races, so I need Wi-Fi for that plus the streaming, and I would rather not ruin the quality of the quality going back and forth, just because I don't want to make it bad for everybody watching at home personally. Let's see what else got. Lane should have won the IWP. Are we talking about earlier in this year when he had a really good run? Let's see what else we got. ATM Films, Gilliland, and Gregson go side by side and around. I like the all W's there. Napa Racing Fan 927. Thank you for the 2. I miss speed. FS1 doesn't care about trucks. FS1 hasn't really cared about NASCAR to the degree that really, honestly, even ESPN at times did before in the pre-FS1 days. You remember the whole Donovan McNabb versus NASCAR story? That was so stupid. That bum who basically quit when he signed with my Vikings. Now, I'm not salty about that. Not at all. Buckman 840 is in the chat. Will Chicago race fans see Jimmy Johnson drive at least one more time? With all the money they put in, I wouldn't be surprised if NASCAR was like, hey, you want to do us a solid here and have a little star power at this race? I think, I forgot which ones he showed interest in, but I think Jenna Fryer had some info on that. Let me look up what she put today. Credit to Jenna for getting the scoop on this, and Jimmy Johnson for liking it too, kind of pushing it a little further. But it looks like Martinsville and Phoenix, I guess, are 2 of the races. I don't know about Chicago. Maybe, I think David was talking about it a little bit. I want to double check just so I'm sure. I know it might not be the greatest thing to watch or listen to, me doing this. But one other thing that came of note today that I think slid under the radar is that Kyle Busch said that his options for doing the double have dried up. So that's something to watch there too. I personally thought Kyle Busch was almost a shoo-in to run that, but ultimately it looks like it's going to be a no-go on that. But as for your question, I think, maybe it will. That if it's built up as something really big and he has the time and it fits in his schedule, maybe it will. Let's see what else we got in here. Jenna did do a lot of coverage of Jimmy and IndyCar, and a pretty good job of it at that. So I figured she'd be the best source to look up when it comes to any plans. Martinsville and Phoenix were 2 of them that popped up that she really highlighted. But with 8 to 10 races, who knows? I'm assuming the Daytona 500, if possible, would be one. Let's see what else we got. 0 for 1 for your picks this weekend. You have Gregson, Logano left. Yep, 0 for 1 for me too. I have Gregson and Bell. So, all right. Oh, I'm frozen. Hold on. Technical difficulties. That might be the end of the stream at that point. Yep, that'll be the end of the stream. All right, y'all. Thanks for a good night. We'll fix these difficulties for tomorrow, and until next time, see you around.